Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome. Before we begin, take a deep breath with me. Inhale courage, exhale doubt. There are scars, and then there are lessons. The first kind reminds us that we were hurt. They are the jagged silver lines on our skin that map out our collisions with reality. The second kind reminds us that we healed. They are the invisible threads of resilience woven into our very being. Over the past decade, my life has been a relentless pursuit of turning one into the other. My skin, my heart, my very spirit have become a tapestry woven with the threads of lessons learned in the crucible of fire and ash. I've tasted the bitterness of regret that coats your tongue for months. I've felt the sharp public sting of failure that makes you want to disappear. I've stood on the lonely peak of a success that felt hollow, an echo in an empty room. But through it all, through every stumble and every summit, I kept writing. Not just in journals with ink and paper, but on the very framework of my being, etching wisdom into bone. Today, I'm not here to show you my scars, I'm here to give you the map I drew from them. I'm going to hand you the wisdom I had to wrestle from life itself. A truth serum distilled from years of trial and error. So that perhaps, just perhaps, you don't have to learn it all the hard way. Before we dive into the first and perhaps most difficult lesson, if you find value in this kind of raw, unfiltered conversation, the kind we all crave but rarely find, do me a small favor. Hit that like button below. It's a silent nod that tells me you're here with me, that these words are finding a home. Subscribe to the channel because this is just the beginning of the truths we'll uncover together, week after week. And most importantly, share this with someone who might be navigating their own storm right now. Your support is the fuel for this fire, telling the world that these honest conversations matter, that vulnerability is a strength, and that none of us are alone in our struggles. Thank you. Now, are you ready? Let's talk about the biggest lie we tell ourselves. Part 1. The grand illusion of control. For years, I believed my life was a complex piece of machinery and I was its master engineer. My mind was the workshop, filled with blueprints for happiness and schematics for success. I drafted 5-year plans on pristine whiteboards, mapping out every career move, every financial milestone, every personal relationship with the meticulous precision of a chess grandmaster planning 20 moves ahead. My mantra was simple, whispered to myself in times of uncertainty. If I plan for every contingency, nothing can go wrong. I saw life as a series of variables to be solved, an equation where, with enough effort and foresight, I could guarantee a positive outcome. The hard way came not as a single cataclysmic event, but as a slow, grinding erosion of my meticulously constructed reality. It began subtly. A job promotion I had sacrificed weekends and relationships for was given to an outside hire with a better network. It was a small crack in the foundation, but I patched it over with more work, more planning. Then a relationship I had nurtured with textbook perfection, remembering anniversaries, communicating needs, planning dates, ended with the quiet, devastating words, "I just don't feel it anymore." There was no variable for feelings in my equation. The cracks grew wider. The final blow was a global pandemic that took my 5-year plan, my whiteboard masterpiece, and turned it into a roll of toilet paper. My white-knuckled grip on the steering wheel of life was a fallacy. The more I tried to control every outcome, the more anxiety became my constant companion, a humming static beneath the surface of my days. I wasn't an engineer in a workshop. I was a sailor on a vast, unpredictable ocean, mistaking my ability to read a compass for the power to command the tides. The ocean, of course, remained indifferent to my demands. The breakdown was my breakthrough. In the quiet wreckage of my plans, surrounded by the ghosts of my failed predictions, a profound truth surfaced. The only thing you truly have control over is how you respond to the things you can't control. This realization was terrifying because it meant I was not the master of my universe. But it was also liberating because it meant I didn't have to be. It meant letting go of the exhausting, impossible burden of predicting the future and instead cultivating the strength, flexibility, and grace to navigate the present, whatever it may bring. So you don't have to differentiate between your circle of influence and your circle of concern. This concept, popularized by Stephen Covey, is the most practical tool for reclaiming your peace. Get a piece of paper and draw 2 circles, one inside the other. The outer circle is your circle of concern. In it, write down everything you worry about: the global economy, politics, what that person thinks of you, traffic, the weather. Now, in the inner circle, your circle of influence, write down what you can actually do about those things. You can't control the economy, but you can create a budget and learn a new skill. Influence. You can't control what someone thinks of you, but you can act with integrity and kindness. Influence. You can't control traffic, but you can leave earlier or listen to a podcast to make the time productive. Influence. Pour 99% of your energy into that inner circle, the one you can actually touch. The outer circle is a black hole for your energy. Stop feeding it. Practice the art of strategic surrender. Our culture champions fighting, hustling, and never giving up. But wisdom lies in knowing which battles to fight and which to walk away from. Strategic surrender isn't weakness, it's the ultimate act of self-preservation. It's acknowledging that some doors are meant to close. It's accepting a no without letting it shatter your self-worth. It's understanding that sometimes the most powerful move is to simply let go. Unclench your fists and trust that you have the resilience to handle whatever comes next. It's the grace to say, "Oops, this is not working, and that's okay. What's next?" Instead of trying to force a key into a lock it was never meant to open, focus on the ore. not the storm. When you're in a storm at sea, you can't stop the waves or silence the wind. Obsessing over the size of the waves will only lead to panic. But you can focus on your rowing. You can keep your boat pointed in the right direction, one stroke at a time. Your oar is your daily habits, your attitude, your kindness, your discipline, how you speak to yourself and others. The storm will eventually pass, but the strength you build from rowing, the character forged in the heart of the tempest, will remain with you forever. That is where your true power lies. Learning this lesson was like learning to breathe again after holding my breath for a decade. It's the foundational truth upon which all other wisdom is built, and it leads us directly to the next thief of joy I had to banish from my life. Part 2. The poison of comparison. In the modern world, we walk around with a curated museum of other people's greatest hits in our pockets. We call it social media. For a long time, I was an obsessive, miserable curator of this museum. My mornings began not with meditation or sunlight, but with the blue light of my phone scrolling through an endless gallery of manufactured perfection. My hard way was a slow drip poison, an IV of inadequacy fed directly into my veins. It was scrolling through a friend's ethereal vacation photos from Bali while I was eating instant noodles at my desk, feeling a sharp pang of envy that soured my meal. It was seeing a colleague's bombastic promotion announcement and feeling my own hard-won achievements shrink in significance. I wasn't just observing their lives. I was using their highlight reels, the perfectly filtered, carefully captioned moments, as the measuring stick for my raw, unedited, behind-the-scenes reality. I fell into the trap of believing that their success was somehow a reflection of my failure. It's a subtle, insidious lie our minds tell us. That joy, success, and luck are finite resources, and if someone else has a lot, there's less available for us. I was running a race I didn't even know I had entered, against competitors who weren't even aware they were competing. The finish line kept moving, and my joy was always just out of reach, somewhere over on someone else's timeline. The turning point was a conversation with that very friend who had been in Bali. We met for a simple coffee months after her trip. I mentioned how incredible her vacation looked, how perfect her life seemed. She looked down at her cup, her cheerful facade crumbling for a moment, and confessed the trip was a desperate last-ditch attempt to reconnect with her partner after a brutal year of arguments and therapy. The paradise I had envied was a fragile truce on neutral ground. Her highlight reel was hiding a profound, painful struggle. That day, the poison began to lose its power. The lesson was blindingly clear. You cannot compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. In fact, you shouldn't even be reading their book when you're supposed to be writing your own. So you don't have to curate your consumption. You are the guardian of your own mind, the bouncer at the club of your consciousness. You have the right to refuse entry. Unfollow, mute, or block any account that consistently makes you feel less than, anxious, or envious. This is not an act of cruelty, it is an act of profound self-respect. Your mental peace is more valuable than your social feed. Fill your digital world with inspiration, genuine education, and authentic connection, not silent judgment and curated illusions. Practice aggressive gratitude. Comparison cannot survive in a heart that is authentically full of gratitude. When the urge to compare strikes, and it will, counter it immediately and aggressively. Don't just think it, say it aloud or write it down. I am grateful for this simple cup of coffee. I am grateful for the roof over my head. I am grateful for the strength that got me through yesterday. Be specific. Be visceral. Gratitude grounds you in the reality of your own blessings, making the mirage of someone else's life lose its allure. Run your own race. Imagine you're a marathon runner. If you spend the entire race looking at the runner in the next lane, how fast they're going, what shoes they're wearing, how they're breathing, you will inevitably stumble. You will lose your own pace, your own rhythm. Your only job is to focus on the patch of road in front of you, on your own breath, on your own stride. Your journey is unique. Your timeline is your own. The sun and the moon don't compete for the sky. They shine when it's their time. Celebrate other people's victories without questioning your own journey. Their light does not dim yours. Once I started writing my own story instead of reading everyone else's, I realized I needed a different kind of fuel. A different definition of wealth that couldn't be quantified by likes or followers. Part 3. The true currency is time, not money. Our society worships at the altar of financial wealth. We're taught from a young age that success is a number in a bank account, a title on a business card, the square footage of a house. For the first 5 years of my career, I was a devout follower of this religion. My calendar was my prayer book, my office a temple, and my sacrifices were sleep, health, and connection. I chased promotions like a starving man chases a loaf of bread. I worked 60-hour weeks believing that sacrificing my present was a noble investment in a comfortable future. I told myself it was temporary. I'll just work hard now so I can relax later. Later was a mythical paradise, a finish line that, much like in the race of comparison, kept receding into the distance. I collected paychecks but neglected relationships. I accumulated possessions but lost presence. The hard way was the slow, chilling realization that I was becoming a wealthy stranger to my own life. The moment of clarity was brutal and stripped of all illusion. My father had a health scare. A sudden, terrifying glimpse into mortality that sliced through the noise of my busy life. I flew home, the hum of the airplane engine a monotonous drone against the frantic beating of my heart. I sat by his hospital bed, the rhythmic beep of the monitor counting out the precious seconds of a life. And as he spoke, his voice raspy, he didn't mention my job title or the car I drove. He talked about a fishing trip we took when I was 10, the way the sun glinted off the water. He talked about the time I fell out of a tree and he carried me home, my tears soaking his shirt. He talked about moments. In that sterile, quiet room, the full weight of my misplaced priorities crashed down on me. I had been diligently saving a currency, money that could be replenished, while carelessly, arrogantly spending the one currency that is finite and irretrievable: time. The lesson was a paradigm shift that reordered my entire existence. Money is a tool for living, but time is the essence of life itself. You can always make more money. You can never ever make more time. Every tick of the clock is a coin spent from a finite purse. So you don't have to conduct a time audit. For 1 week, be brutally honest with yourself. Track where your minutes and hours go. How many are lost to mindless scrolling, to complaining, to worrying about things outside your control? How many are truly invested in your loved ones, in learning, in health, in pure, unadulterated joy? The results will likely shock you into action. You might discover you spend more time with fictional characters on Netflix than with your own partner. This isn't about guilt, it's about awareness. Awareness is the first step toward change. Invest in memories, not just assets. While financial planning is crucial for stability, so is memory planning. Consciously earmark funds and, more importantly, time for experiences that enrich your life and relationships. The joy from a new phone fades in months. The joy from a weekend trip with someone you love can warm you for a lifetime. These memories are the assets that appreciate in value as you age, paying dividends in stories, laughter, and connection long after the material possessions have rusted away. Master the art of being present. The greatest gift you can give someone, your child, your partner, your friend, yourself, is your undivided attention. When you're with your family, put the phone in another room. When you're talking to a friend, truly listen to their words and the emotions behind them, instead of just waiting for your turn to speak. The richness of life isn't found in multitasking your way through it, but in savoring it one precious, unrepeatable moment at a time. Understanding the value of time made me reevaluate my relationship with work, ambition, and the very concept of failure, which had long been my greatest and most paralyzing fear. Part 4. Failure is not an event but a teacher. I used to be terrified of failure. I saw it as a permanent stain on my record, a final, irrevocable verdict on my capabilities. In my mind, every project, every relationship, every endeavor was a high-stakes tightrope walk over a gaping canyon of shame. If I fell, I believed, it would be the end. My identity was inextricably linked to my success. This mindset made me timid. It made me a coward in the arena of my own life. I only took on challenges I was certain I could win. I avoided risks. I played it safe. My world was small, predictable, and comfortable. But it was also stagnant. I was living in a cage of my own making. A cage built with bars of what if I'm not good enough. The Hard Way was a business venture I poured my heart, soul, and savings into. It was a beautiful idea, a solid plan, and it failed spectacularly. It didn't just stumble, it was a fiery public crash that burned through my finances and scorched my ego. For months, the shame was a physical weight on my chest. I avoided calls from friends, dodged questions about how things were going, and felt like a fraud. I had fallen off the tightrope, and the canyon was just as deep and dark as I had imagined. I thought I was at rock bottom, a place of endings. But rock bottom has a secret. It's a solid foundation upon which you can rebuild. Lying there in the quiet rubble of my failure, I was forced to analyze what went wrong. There was nowhere else to look but inward. I saw my strategic errors, my marketing miscalculations, my failures in leadership. And as I sifted through the wreckage piece by painful piece, I realized I was learning more than I ever had in any of my successes. Success is a poor teacher. It often just reinforces our ego. Failure, on the other hand, is a ruthless, brilliant mentor. The failure wasn't a verdict, it was a tuition payment for an education I couldn't get anywhere else. It was the teacher I never wanted but desperately needed. This is the lesson. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a critical, unavoidable, and essential part of the process. So you don't have to reframe failure as data collection. This mental shift is everything. Every time something doesn't work, you've simply discovered one way not to do it. You've collected valuable data. A failed relationship teaches you about your non-negotiables and communication style. A failed project teaches you about market demand and your own operational weaknesses. Don't see it as a loss. See it as gathering mission-critical intelligence for your next attempt. Thomas Edison didn't fail 1,000 times. He discovered 1,000 ways not to build a light bulb. Practice micro-bravery. If you're afraid of big failures, start by risking small ones. Build your courage like a muscle. Try a new recipe that might turn out terrible. Take a dance class and look foolish for an hour. Speak up in a meeting with an idea that might get shot down. Each time you survive a tiny failure, you prove to your nervous system that you can handle it. You build your resilience muscle with small, manageable reps. Courage is a habit, not an innate trait. Separate your actions from your identity. This is crucial. A project can fail, but that doesn't make you a failure. A relationship can end, but that doesn't make you unlovable. Your worth is inherent and is not determined by your external outcomes. By creating this conscious separation, you give yourself the psychological freedom to risk and to grow without wagering your entire sense of self on the result. You are the scientist. Your attempts are the experiments. Some experiments yield the expected result, others don't. But the scientist's worth is never in question. This process of learning from failure was emotionally and physically draining. It taught me that resilience isn't an infinite resource, and that for years I had been ignoring the single most important system I needed to maintain myself. Part 5. You can't pour from an empty cup. In our culture, hustle is glorified. Burnout is often worn as a twisted badge of honor, a testament to one's dedication and work ethic. I was a card-carrying member of this cult. I believed that self-care was a luxury, a frivolous indulgence to be enjoyed after all the important work was done. The problem, of course, is that the work is never done. The to-do list is a hydra. For every task you complete, 2 more grow in its place. My body and mind started sending me warning signals, but I arrogantly ignored them. Persistent fatigue? Just need more coffee. Chronic anxiety? That's just the price of ambition. Losing interest in things I once loved? No time for hobbies right now. I treated myself like a machine, forgetting that even machines need maintenance, fuel, and periods of rest. I was redlining my engine day after day, heading for an inevitable breakdown. The hard way was a full-blown burnout. It wasn't a dramatic cinematic collapse. It was a slow, quiet implosion. I remember sitting in my car one cold morning, the key in the ignition, unable to physically will myself to drive to the office. It felt like every ounce of energy, creativity, and motivation had been siphoned from me. I wasn't just tired, I was depleted on a cellular level. I had nothing left to give to my job, to my loved ones, and least of all to myself. My cup wasn't just empty, it was cracked and leaking. The recovery was long and humbling. It forced me to confront a truth I had been actively avoiding. Self-care is not selfish. It is the most fundamental act of self-preservation. It is the non-negotiable prerequisite for sustainable success and a fulfilling life. You cannot serve others, create meaningful work, or show up as the best version of yourself if you are running on fumes. You are the asset that produces all other assets in your life. Protecting that asset is your most important job, so you don't have to schedule self-care like a CEO meeting. You would never just skip a meeting with your most important client. Treat your own well-being with the same non-negotiable respect. Block out time in your calendar for rest, for exercise, for quiet solitude, for play. These are not if I have time activities. They are essential appointments for your mental, physical, and emotional health. Defend this theme fiercely. It is the source of everything else you do. Identify your rechargers and drainers. Take out a piece of paper and make 2 lists. On one list, the people, activities, and environments that leave you feeling energized, inspired, and full. This could be a walk in nature, a conversation with a specific friend, listening to a certain type of music, or spending time on a hobby. On the other, list those that leave you feeling exhausted, depleted, and anxious. This could be endless meetings, a cluttered environment, or interactions with negative people. The goal is simple but profound. Consciously design your life to maximize your time with the rechargers and minimize, delegate, or create firm boundaries around the drainers. Master the power of no. No is a complete sentence. It does not require a lengthy justification. Every time you say yes to something you don't have the time, energy, or desire for, you are implicitly saying no to your own well-being, your rest, and your priorities. Saying no isn't about rejection. It's about honoring your limits and respecting your own capacity. It is a sign of self-respect, not selfishness. The people who respect you will understand. The ones who don't are the very people you need to be saying no to more often. Learning to care for myself also meant reevaluating how I communicated my needs and boundaries with others, which revealed a whole other area of my life built on a shaky, silent foundation. Part 6. The weight of unspoken words. I used to believe that avoiding conflict was the same as keeping the peace. I prided myself on being easygoing and low maintenance. I thought that by swallowing my frustrations, ignoring slights, and keeping my true feelings under wraps, I was being the bigger person. I was a master of the passive-aggressive sigh, the subtle, silent treatment, and the art of saying, "I'm fine," with a tone that clearly meant the opposite. I thought this was a noble, peaceful way to live. I was wrong. The hard way was watching a deeply important friendship slowly wither and die. Not from a dramatic fight, but from a terminal case of unspoken resentments. It was 1,000 tiny paper cuts of things unsaid. A misunderstanding I never clarified because it felt awkward. A boundary I never set because I didn't want to seem difficult. A hurt I never voiced because I didn't want to start something. I thought I was preserving the relationship by not rocking the boat. But in reality, I was letting it sink under the silent, invisible weight of everything I was too afraid to say. The end came with a quiet drift, a fizzle rather than a bang. Calls became less frequent, plans became vague. By the time I realized what was happening, the emotional distance was too vast to cross. The peace I thought I was keeping was a fragile illusion, a silence that was actually deafening. I had traded authentic connection for a hollow, conflict-free comfort. The lesson that emerged from that painful slint was this. Honest communication is the lifeblood of any healthy relationship. The void you create by not speaking your truth will inevitably be filled with assumption, resentment, and poison. So you don't have to embrace compassionate confrontation. The goal of a difficult conversation isn't to win an argument or prove you're right. It's to be understood and to understand in return. Frame it from your perspective using I statements. Instead of "you always ignore me when your friends are around," try "I feel hurt and invisible when we're in a group and I can't seem to get your attention." The first is an attack on their character. The second is an explanation of your experience. It's a game changer that invites empathy instead of defensiveness. Don't make others guess. People are not mind readers. This is one of the simplest yet most violated rules of relationships. Expecting your partner, friends, or family to intuit your needs, boundaries, and feelings is a recipe for chronic disappointment. Be clear, be kind. But be clear, it is an act of kindness to tell people where you stand and what you need. It replaces guesswork with certainty and allows for a real response rather than a fumbled attempt to please a person they don't truly understand. Address issues when they're small. A small spark of resentment is easy to put out with a 5-minute honest conversation. Left to smolder in the dark, it can grow into a wildfire that burns down the entire forest of your relationship. If something bothers you, address it early, calmly, and directly. Most conflicts are far more manageable when they are the size of a speed bump, not a mountain you have to climb later. This commitment to honesty had to be turned inward as well. I had to be honest with myself about my own habits, especially my reliance on a fleeting, unreliable feeling I had mistaken for the key to productivity. Part 7. Motivation is a myth. Discipline is the key. I lived on the motivation roller coaster for years. It was a thrilling, but ultimately fruitless ride. I'd watch an inspiring video, read a powerful book, or get swept up in a burst of New Year's energy, and I would feel invincible. This is it, I'd think. This is the feeling that will finally make me consistent. I was addicted to the feeling of starting. I'd go to the gym for a week, work on my novel for a few days, eat healthy for a weekend, and then inevitably the feeling would fade. The motivation would wane like a dying fire, and my new habits would crumble with it. I was a motivation junkie, always chasing the next high, believing that the feeling of wanting to do something was a prerequisite for actually doing it. When the feeling wasn't there, I'd conclude that something was wrong. I'm just not motivated today, I'd tell myself, giving myself permission to quit. I thought my problem was a lack of motivation. The hard way was the slow, demoralizing realization that I was stuck in a Groundhog Day-style cycle of starting and stopping. Years were passing, and my biggest goals were no closer than when I started. I was waiting for the perfect mood, the perfect wave of inspiration to carry me to the shore of my dreams, but I was waiting for a magical tide that would never come. The shift happened when I stopped looking for a feeling and started building a system. I read about atomic habits, about the power of routine, about the simple act of showing up even when, especially when you don't feel like it. The lesson wasn't glamorous or exciting. but it was the most practical and powerful one I've ever learned. Motivation is a fleeting, unreliable spark. Discipline is the sturdy, all-weather engine that will carry you through the dark, cold nights when the spark is gone. So you don't have to. Trust your system, not your feelings. Your feelings are fickle. They change with the weather, with how you slept, with a random comment someone made. A system, however, is reliable. Create a structure that does not depend on your mood. Have a set time to work, a pre-planned workout schedule, a non-negotiable writing hour. The system runs whether you feel like it or not. Your only job is to show up and execute the system. Motivation often comes after you start, not before. Make it so easy you can't say no. When building a new habit, the biggest mistake is starting too big. Shrink the habit down to its most ridiculously small 2-minute version. Don't aim for a 1-hour workout. Aim to simply put on your workout clothes. Don't aim to write a chapter. Aim to write 1 sentence. The goal at first is not progress, it's consistency. This is about building the identity of a person who shows up. The momentum will build naturally from there. Celebrate consistency, not intensity. Our culture glorifies the all-nighter, the crash diet, the heroic burst of effort. But true lasting change comes from small, boring, consistent actions compounded over time. Going for a 20-minute walk every single day is infinitely more powerful than a 3-hour gym session once a month. Praise yourself for the act of showing up, not for the intensity of the effort. Consistency is the secret ingredient that turns small actions into monumental results. Building discipline required me to create a supportive environment, which forced me to take a hard, painful look at the people I was allowing to share my time and energy. Part 8. Your circle defines your altitude. There's an old adage: you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I used to think this was a cynical exaggeration. I believed I was an island, that my own mindset and drive were strong enough to remain unaffected by the energies of those around me. I valued loyalty above all else, which meant I held on to relationships, friendships in particular, long past their expiration date, like a captain refusing to abandon a sinking ship. The hard way was the slow, painful realization that some of my oldest friendships had become anchors, not sails. These were people I loved, people with whom I shared a rich history, but they were deeply rooted in complaint, cynicism, and a fixed mindset. Conversations revolved around gossip, blaming others for their problems and listing all the reasons why new ideas would never work out. Every time I left a hangout, I felt a little heavier, a little less hopeful, a little more drained. I was trying to grow a garden in my life, planting seeds of ambition and positivity, while my closest friends were constantly, unintentionally sowing weeds of doubt. I would share an exciting new goal only to be met with a sigh and a list of reasons why it was impossible or foolish. Their fears were becoming my limits. My loyalty to the past was actively sabotaging my future. The decision to consciously create distance was one of the most painful things I have ever done. It was filled with guilt and felt like a betrayal. But the lesson I learned through that grief was a stark and unavoidable one. Choosing the people who occupy your life is not a luxury. It is a critical act of self-preservation and ambition. You cannot reach a higher altitude if you are constantly being pulled down by the gravity of those around you. So you don't have to. Conduct an energy audit of your relationships. For the next week, pay close attention to how you feel after interacting with someone. Do you feel inspired, energized, seen, and optimistic? Or do you feel drained, anxious, small, and pessimistic? Your emotional response is pure data. Listen to it. It's telling you who is a radiator, giving off warmth, and who is a drain, sucking energy in your life. Understand the difference between history and destiny. Just because someone was a significant part of your past does not automatically grant them a VIP pass to your future. You can cherish the history, be grateful for the role they played, and love them from afar. But you must also recognize when a chapter needs to end for the story of your life to move forward. Holding on too tightly to people who no longer align with your growth is a disservice to both of you. Letting go is not always a dramatic confrontation. Often the healthiest way to create distance is through a quiet drift. It's politely declining invitations to environments that you know will drain you. It's investing more of your limited time and energy into the people who reflect who you want to become. You don't always have to slam the door and make a grand speech. Sometimes you can just gently and lovingly stop walking through it. Conclusion: your path, your lessons. These 8 lessons form the bedrock of the life I live today, a life that is more intentional, more resilient, and infinitely more peaceful than the one I was living a decade ago. They were not learned in classrooms or from self-help books, but in the messy, unforgiving trenches of real-life experience, paid for with tears, anxiety, and a great deal of humility. The journey isn't about avoiding pain or failure. That's an impossible, foolish goal. It's about learning to metabolize it, to turn the lead of hardship into the gold of wisdom. It's about realizing that you are not broken or behind. You are simply on your own unique path, gathering the specific lessons you need for the person you are destined to become. These were the lessons I learned the hard way. My deepest hope is that by sharing them, your path might be a little brighter, your load a little lighter, and your own journey a little more graceful. If any of this resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. What's the hardest lesson life has taught you? Your story, your lessons, they matter too. Until next time, be kind to yourself. You're doing better than you think.